Actually, you know, if I had all three of my studios, I'd probably have a perfect studio. Because this studio, you know, I live here like 5 or 6 months a year. And then we're in New York for about 4 or 5 months a year. And then we're usually 3 or 4 months. That's more than 12. But anyway, we're in 3 different locations, and I work everywhere that I go. You know, I love the studio. The one thing that is consistent in all of my studios is that I live there. I've never wanted to have to commute to a studio, and you know, that way I can work anytime I feel you know, the desire to do something. So it works very well. The way that I work is that you know, when I'm doing like ink drawings or I'm doing paintings, I always work flat on the ground. I don't work on the easel. And I use whatever paint. I used to use oil paint. I stopped using oil paint some years ago because of the kind of toxicity of it and stuff. But now I use, you know, like acrylic, but acrylic that's been, you know, watered down so that it's almost like, you know, watercolor. I use watercolor and gouache. Mostly I'm using gouache these days. And anyway, I can use it on a flat surface and it works great. If it were on an easel, of course, it would be a different thing. You know, things would drip and run. So anyway, like I said, the consistent thing is that I live where my studio is, which is a big advantage. You know, in some ways it's a little crimped. You can see it's small, but I use the whole house. I actually, you know, I do drawings and things. I like to work on like the tabletop in the living room. I like to work on the kitchen counter. Like all these gouache paintings are done actually on the kitchen counter. And then, you know, if the one I particularly like, I want to enlarge, then I bring it down here and work in the studio down here on the floor. But the other thing I have to say is that this is just sort of where, you know, the drawings and the concepts are developed. But, you know, in a certain sense, because of the kind of work that I do, my studios are all over Istanbul. Like all, you know, the metal fabrication work that I do is done in Ümraniye. I have a team of really, really excellent ustas that I work with, do just fantastic work. I have a guy who does the acid indirme, you know, like that small piece that I'd shown you. He's in Karakoy. Then I'm doing kilims, as you know, and the kilims that I have are made in Uşak, but the guy that I work with is here, very close to the Kapalı Çarşı. So, in other words, I'm all over the place, and in a certain sense, as you know, in terms of my production, it's not done in any particular place like a normal painter would do, for example. There are certain, you know, creature comforts that are essential, you know, and coffee in the morning is essential, and wine at night.